There was something strangely believable about Infamous, the game, when it first came out. I wouldn't say realistic, but something believable. Underneath the lighting powers of buildings, the giant explosions and all, the series always felt grounded in just one important idea, which was, what would actually happen if an ordinary person suddenly gained a ton of power in just right in the middle of a broken society? We think that's what made Cole McGrath work so well. He wasn't a billionaire genius, he wasn't a chosen hero. He was a delivery guy caught inside a disaster that changed everything around him overnight. And that grounded energy is exactly why the rumors surrounding a Infamous remake right now have exploded again recently. See, here's the thing, in fact, after years of silence, multiple reports right now suggest that something related to Infamous may finally be happening again inside PlayStation. According to, in fact, recent comments from a few journalists, there is reportedly an Infamous thing happening somewhere in PlayStation, with speculation heavily pointing toward remakes of the original PlayStation 3 games rather than a direct sequel. And of course, what better time for that to happen? Because superhero games have changed dramatically over the last decade. That's right, players no longer just want combat and giant cinematic set pieces, they want emotional weight. Cities that feel alive, they want powers that feel dangerous instead of just simply cool. And that's precisely where Infamous still stands out. Even today, the original games already understood something many superhero stories even forgot. Power isolates people. Cole wasn't treated like a savior at first. People feared him, distrusted him. Entire sections of Empire City collapsed into chaos while survival became more important than morality. Kind of like the movie Hancock. And that atmosphere made the series feel heavier than most superhero games, and now modern technology could push that idea like a whole world further. And importantly, it should still feel dirty. That matters a lot, because Infamous was never supposed to feel clean or glamorous. Empire City looks exhausted, dangerous, like a place slowly collapsing under pressure long before Cole's powers even appeared. And a remake should preserve that identity completely. I don't know, rain-covered alleyways, damaged infrastructures, emergency broadcasts echoing through empty subway systems. That grounded urban atmosphere is part of what made the series special. And honestly, modern lighting technology also alone could make Cole's powers look incredible today. Electricity reflecting natural across wet streets, neon signs flickering through combat, entire power grids failing dynamically while storms intensify overhead. That visual identity practically builds itself, especially now with modern particle systems and destruction physics. Like, imagine large-scale fights tearing apart entire city blocks while lighting changes across vehicles, rooftops, and electrical systems dynamically in real time. Every battle could now feel dangerous not just for enemies, but for the city itself. Believe it or not, that fits Infamous pretty good, almost perfectly. Because power should never feel completely controlled, they should feel unstable. And according to current rumors, PlayStation may specifically be exploring remakes of the first two PlayStation 3 titles rather than creating a brand new entry. Multiple reports in fact right now suggest the project's likely being handled outside Sucker Punch, since the studio remains heavily focused on the Ghost franchise. That detail matters and makes sense, because rebuilding the original game first would allow PlayStation to reintroduce the franchise properly to a modern audience before deciding where the future of the series goes next. And the original story still holds up surprisingly well today. A city quarantined after a catastrophic events, government control collapsing, moral decisions affecting entire populations, fear spreading faster than information. Those themes feel even more relevant now than they did back in 2009. That's basically part of why fans continue asking for this remake across social media and gaming communities. Many players in fact specifically want Cole McGrath's story preserved and modernized rather than replaced entirely, because Cole still works, he feels human. That's the difference. Most superhero protagonists become larger than life almost immediately. Cole never really lost that grounded feeling even after becoming incredibly powerful. He still sounded tired, confused, angry. The city affected him emotionally as much as physically, and a remake could deepen that character work dramatically. Modern facial animations per se, better cinematic directions, more natural dialogue pacing, quiet moments where Cole simply just walks through damaged neighborhoods, seeing how the city changes around him depending on player choices. That side of Infamous deserves far more attention than the combat alone, because morality systems are another thing the franchise handled differently from most games. Your choices didn't just change cutscenes, they changed the atmosphere. The city reacted differently depending on whether Cole became feared or trusted. Civilians treated him differently. Powers evolved differently, even Cole's physical appearance shifted over time, and a modern remake could push those systems much further too. Dynamic crowd reactions, news coverage changing in real time, police behavior adapting differently depending on reputation. That level of reactivity could make Empire City feel genuinely alive, and honestly, PlayStation currently lacks this exact type of superhero experience in its lineup. Spider-Man dominates the polished comic book fantasy side beautifully, but Infamous occupies a darker, more grounded space. Less about heroism, more about consequences. That contrast matters, especially because players today are much more interested in morally complicated protagonists than simple good versus evil storytelling. And visually, a remake could also become one of the most atmospheric superhero games ever made if handled correctly. That's right, traversal itself could become incredible now, grinding across electrical rails at high speed, launching between skyscrapers, gliding through storm clouds while the city's all alive and glowing underneath. Movement always mattered enormously in Infamous. The player needed to feel connected to the city itself physically, and a remake could make traversal smoother, faster, and more cinematic while preserving that original sense of momentum. And there's also, well, of course, probably one of the most important things, the combat, which is where modern hardware could completely transform the whole experience. The original game already had strong power variety, but technology limited every behavior and environmental interaction heavily. Now, combat could become much more dynamic, electrical abilities interacting naturally with weather systems, water, vehicles, and infrastructure, entire environments responding physically to fights instead of just remaining static. That chaos is important, because Infamous should feel dangerous at all times. Not polished, not perfectly controlled. Electricity is violent by nature. The game should reflect that. Interestingly, Sucker Punch themselves have repeatedly said they still care deeply about the franchise even while focusing on other projects. Developers openly acknowledge that they would love to work more on Infamous someday, which leaves the door wide open, and honestly fans know it, because Infamous never really felt finished. Not emotionally, not creatively. The world still has room for stories like this. That identity still feels unique even now, and honestly, that's why people are excited. Because, of course, as always, we can already picture it. And somewhere deep in all of that chaos, there's going to be a forgotten PlayStation legend finally starting to spark back to life again.